call the roll first. Trustee Ankerman is absent. Trustee Briand?
Here.
Trustee Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Marquis absent. Trustee Rappin?
Here.
Trustee Ryder?
Here.
And President Charlot is absent. So given that, is there a motion to elect a President Pro Tem for today's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a name?
Oh, sorry. Trustee Briand.
I second the motion.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Trustee Briand?
Okay, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next up, we have the consideration of the June 23rd special joint workshop and July 12th, 2021 Village Board meeting minutes. We can take these together or separately. Drew?
Yeah. So if
Anyone?
somebody would make a motion to take them together?
Is there a motion to approve them together, the June 23rd and/or to July 12th minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? Nope, okay. Next up are the,
You do the voice vote. for that.
oh, do we do a voice vote? Okay, sorry,
So that's you.
me.
So you say all those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
There you go, motion carries.
All right, the next item is non-agenda items and visitors. The village president and board of trustees allocate 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Do we have anybody?
There's nobody here in the boardroom and nobody's raising their hand in the virtual world.
Okay. So hearing none, we can move on. The next item on the agenda is the village board sets the order of the meeting. Village board and village president and board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during the village board meeting. If there doesn't appear to be any reason to alter the agenda, we can move on. Okay. So next is the warrant report for July 13 to July 26, 2021. Item 6A is a warrant report for that same period, July 13 to July 26, 2021, in the amount of $21,957.64. The invoice register report shows checks with the status of open or paid. All checks with the status of open are computer-generated checks for the board's final approval. Checks with the status of paid are manual checks processed. Is there a motion to approve the warrant report?
So moved. Second.
Any questions from the board or anyone in the public? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Briand?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Rappin?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
And the second is the June 2021 financial report. Hi, Bettina.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Can you give us some of the highlights from this report, please?
Sure. Monthly sales tax revenues on a cash basis for June fiscal year 22 is $341,144, which is $122,994 or 56.4% greater than the June 21st cash receipts of $218,149. Building permit revenue for fiscal year 22 to date is $84,705, $23,845 greater than the same reporting period last fiscal year. General fund fiscal year 22 total revenues of $2,877,487 are $547,430 or 23.5% greater than the June fiscal year 21 year-to-date revenues. In fiscal year, current expenditures are consistent with or less than budgeted. The June fiscal year-to-date expenditures of $1,252,480 are $198,628 less than the expenditures of the same period in fiscal year 21.
Is there a motion to accept the June 2021 financial report?
So moved?
Second.
Any questions from the board or the public?
I just have a question as one of the newbies here. The general fund total revenues of 2.8 million are $500,000 over June fiscal year 2021. That strikes me as caused by COVID, or is that kind of up year over year as well? So if you went back to 2020, would that also be up significantly?
So it is related to the rebounding revenues having to do with the downturns from COVID from last year. And if there was a new chart that was included in the monthly report, should be Exhibit D in the report that shows out all the revenues from fiscal year 10 to date, stacked with the various types, and you can see the changes and fluctuations. But current changes or increases are really primarily due to rebounding.
Thanks.
Sure.
As a follow-up question, it's great that we're having success early in our fiscal year. And if that holds up throughout the upcoming months, my understanding is that we have the opportunity to move that money to the capital account at some point if there is a surplus. Is that typically just done at the end of the fiscal year, or do we do that throughout the year as we decide?
So there is already an interfund transfer that's set for capital fund for $500,000 for this year. So that's just a transfer that we physically do on the books. It happens typically mid-year. Could we do more? Yes, and that would need to be upon board approval.
Okay, so that would be something we'd talk about in Q4. Do we want to add to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. And I did look just for point of reference to see how sales tax was trending. The July receipts that we will receive are about $307,000 plus the $17,000 for local use. So that's another $324,000, which is still trending higher than prior years.
Great.
It seems like the trajectory for our sales tax is performing as if, there was the blip, if you will, during the COVID period, but the recovery is picking up where it left off and just hop right back on the same trajectory.
Oh,
So,
yeah, good to know.
Any other questions? No? Okay. This is a roll call vote.
it's a voice vote, it should be.
Oh, okay.
That's a misprint, my bad.
This is a voice vote.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, Drew, do you have a report tonight?
I do. I have a brief one. First item is actually on the agenda, deals with the report concerning the disposition of certain village records. We are constantly trying to improve our document management, and a lot of that starts with converting paper documents to electronic. We follow the state requirements for that, and so periodically you will see a list of documents that the village has put together and that we've gotten electronic versions, and now we're getting ready to dispose of them. And we just, as a matter of business, show you everybody this is what we're doing, share that with everybody, and let them know that this is our path. If there's any heartburn over any of these items, we can certainly take it off, but usually there isn't. So,
Yeah. Drew, just as a point of clarification, everything that was on that exhibit listed has been moved to an electronic file?
yes,
Okay, great.
I'm being told no, that's not true. Or is that not true, Glenn?
I hope you didn't scan agenda packets from
Yeah,
2001.
the follow-up to that is there's some that are important to
Well,
keep for history and others that aren't.
Yeah, so some, the village, we digitize a lot of content as we go. Oftentimes, these paper copies are kept as archives of things that are still kept in different ways. And I apologize if the cover memo was misleading, but some of these items are being discarded without keeping a copy. So for example, There are audit RFPs in there from the 1990s. There's no real business expectation that that'll
Right.
have value for us going forward. Audit papers from the 2000s, same thing. Those have kind of lived their lifespan.
Notes from committees, the ABR, and would be kept.
Correct, yeah. So
Okay.
even though
Yeah, that's what
those,
was-
the
Minutes.
paper copies are out, the minutes, of course, are right behind you. The agenda items are kept as well. Many of these things are recorded permanently in the assessor's office.
Sounds good.
Thank you for that clarification, Glenn.
Apologies.
Thanks, Glenn. Okay.
So that's part one. So if there isn't any trouble with that, we'll keep on moving with that. And then the other item I just wanted to mention, this Saturday was the bike race here in town. It was the 9th annual Intelligentsia Cup Criterion Bike Race. I think there were close to 700 riders, which is pretty close to an all-time high. Somewhat surprising given that we're hopefully on the tail end of a pandemic. This race is held throughout the Chicagoland area and has drifted over north into the Wisconsin border over the years. This year, there were stops in West Dundee, Winfield, Glen Ellen, Mundelein, Lombard, South Chicago, Elgin, and Sunday, the race concluded at actually Intelligentsia Coffee headquarters. That's where the race finish line is. But it was a very busy day downtown, great reports from a lot of merchants, busy day, and it's one of the big reasons why the village started hosting their bike race in the first place, getting economic development exposure, and the community has a lot of positive reports about the race, being such a world-class event in Little Lake Bluff, so adds to our micropolitan environment.
I like that. Great word.
I like that.
Good term.
That concludes my report. Happy to answer any question if there are any.
No, that was great. Ben, do you have any report tonight?
No report tonight.
Now, there are some items on the consent agenda. We can consider all the items. Item number 10, which is all the correspondence that was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in the informational reports on July 9 and 16 of 2021. Item 11, which is the second reading of an ordinance amending Title 7 of the Municipal Code to regulate small wireless facilities. And item 12, a resolution authorizing participation in the ComEd Green Region Program to receive grant funding for the village's Rockland Road Wetland Rehabilitation Enhancement and Pollinator Habitat projects. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
A second?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns from the board? Anybody? I just thought it would be nice to clarify where we're talking about when we talk about the Rockland Road Wetland Rehab, just so people know if they didn't look at the packet but are watching us now,
Yeah,
what we're talking about.
sure.
Just because it's I think this is a terrific thing and a special accolade for Lake Bluff and for our green initiatives.
Yeah, this is through the ComEd grant program that they work with,
Open lands.
Open Lands, and it was, the village actually worked with the Lake Bluff Open Lands Association here in town. This was actually our second try for grant money, and we're rewarded the second try, which is great. It is this actual geographic location where this is occurring is along the northwest corner of Green Bay and 176 and kind of moving westerly down there. There's not a lot of money with this grant, and the village had put some money in the budget with the hope that we would be able to try to find some additional grant dollars to go towards this project. This goes back to the village's corridor plan, the idea of taking a more planned approach to managing the visual corridors that people experience when they're driving or riding their bicycles through town. And so that when they come through Lake Bluff, they know that not only by I would say the architecture of the community, but also the landscape of the community is signaling that you're in a unique place. And so that particular location, the village has been, I'll say, very well kept, and I won't go as far as say manicured, but Lake Bluff Open Lands has spent a lot of resources working on that corner of town, and it is working its way back in time. It's probably the best way to describe it. And so this will go towards that same end and working towards establishing a lot of, if not exclusive, native plantings in that area and getting rid of invasive species that continue to haunt us, so.
And Drew, so the grant is $10,000, and then we are required to put in an additional $16,000.
That's right.
And that money was budgeted?
That money was in the budget, is in the budget this year, and had we not been awarded the grant, we would more than likely have spent those dollars on purely getting rid of the invasive species, trying to start chipping away at that.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think that that's part of the corridor of entering Lake Bluff, and it's really looked great the past couple of years as it's looked more natural. Last year, when my son Sam Rappin was a senior in high school, he actually was required by his environmental class to actually go with his father and cut invasive species.
With his father.
So we took a lot of buckthorn out, so another way to augment that program.
Yeah, and they continue to do that. I think I did the same program last year with my son. That's the bad news about invasive species. They continue to be invasive, right? Hard to get out.
But if you haven't walked by, I walk by it a lot, and it's just spectacular, and you're right, what's happening is this regeneration of plants that have probably been laying dormant. So my hat's off to everybody that's done the work, because the proof is there, it's great. So if we don't have any more questions.
Just one comment. I read with a great deal of interest the grant itself. The grant proposal was itself fascinating. I thought, how do we put together such an incredibly detailed and thoughtful report? Even the prose in it is beautiful. Was that the sustainability? Was that UCLA? And where?
Largely it was volunteers with Lobola. This was, we took it.
It's a labor of love just reading this.
Yeah.
They clearly love that land. It was awesome.
So we took the first grant, like I said, this is the second try with a different grant program. So we took what was previously done and modified it to really fit the parameters of this, and it actually aligned very well. But that's the author was largely, I think his name's Ben Miller, who's a Lobola
Really
leader.
well done.
Yeah.
Just a joy to read.
A passionate person about wetlands.
You can tell.
Yes,
You can
yes.
tell. And then the list of all the native species, and I'm sure, Kate, you could tell us if some of them maybe not or not, but many of them I recognize as
Yeah.
native. Yeah, yeah. It's
I agree with you,
I
reading
can't
it was
wait
great.
to go through and say, oh, that's what that is, because it's pretty impressive.
Well, and the, what was really neat to see this spring, this isn't on here, but, because it probably came up because of the eradication of the buckthorn, is Dodecatheon, which is, the Latin for shooting stars.
Yeah, I
And they
remember you
were
talking about those.
everywhere this spring, and that to me was just such a lovely affirmation of this good work. And I agree with you. The person that wrote this, being Ben Miller, was it was clear that he was really into it, which is awesome because that's what we need. And I think it's such a great message to send in our primary entryway that this is important to Lake Bluff. That's great.
So the 3 acres that are nearest the corner, right, is where we've concentrated thus far, but is this, I couldn't tell for sure, but do we think that this is gonna get us all 10 acres of clearing?
Definitely not.
Yeah,
I think the goal is to chip as far west as we can go.
yeah, yeah. And the plugs, like the plantings are also intended to be farther east, or are they, as we chip away at the buckthorn, we're also gonna plant down that way?
Yeah, that is the plan, is to,
Yeah.
refill as we remove. But also know that it's, as was pointed out, it's never, it's a war of attrition with the buckthorn.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going back after it, so.
Need more environmental students.
That's right.
More
Plenty of
bonding
those.
Yeah.
over buckthorn removal.
Anyway, really exciting.
Yeah, it's
Really
great.
Awesome.
I'll just add that I was struck by and excited to see once again how our community collaborates. And that is something we were just talking about, what was it, last meeting, about our trees and the need for the different various different groups in the community come together in support of nature. So I just would like to throw that out, that it eases my mind to see the list of collaborators, hearing that the school is involved, knowing I have that to look forward to one day with my own.
Right,
Yay.
Yay.
And the Rotary also collaborated
right,
Yeah.
as well.
hats off to them.
So, really exciting. Glad we got the grant.
Well, it's also great because a lot of times when buckthorn's removed, people will panic and think nothing will be there. So we've gotten used to it because it's so pervasive. So
And
this
it
is
looks
also.
green.
And right,
Great
it's
buffer.
green, so it's good because it's living. But what I also just thought of when Taryn mentioned that was that the kids go by this every day, whether they're going to the rec center or to school, and they can see this beautiful space or hear the frogs in the spring, which is just the best. So it's great that, you're right, that it's a collaborative thing, but also that we're showing these little guys how things, look how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So that's
a
really cool.
veritable symphony of chorus frogs enlivened this quarter. One of
Yes,
his poetic
right out.
Right? It
phrase.
is, it's poetry.
Somebody really put everything into this. It's awesome. Thank you, Ben Miller,
Yes, thank you.
and everyone who contributed.
Right. Does anyone have any questions from the public? Anybody on queue?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, no questions, so please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
trustee Rappin,
Aye.
trustee Ryder,
Aye.
and trustee Briand.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so now we'll go on to item 13, which is a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement servers. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, thank you. The fiscal year 2022 Village Vehicle Equipment and Replacement Fund budget includes $40,000 for the purchase of new servers. The current Dell VRTX virtual server host environment was purchased in fiscal year 15. Its warranty has been extended twice and will no longer be under warranty or eligible for warranty extension after December 2021. The current Dell VRTX system or new variants of the VRTX system are no longer being manufactured by Dell. As this equipment ages and the technology becomes outdated, the village's operating software and virtualization software will not be supported, causing potential difficulties with data storage space, software licensing, and compatibility. There are also reliability concerns with the aging equipment. InterDev LLC recommends the Dell EMC ME4024 storage array, accompanied by 3 Dell PowerEdge T6515 rack mount servers and 2 Dell PowerSwitch S4112 network switches, to serve as the virtual host environment for accelerated performance and redundancy of the village's server infrastructure. This same equipment has also been installed at fellow GovITC members Kenilworth and Lincolnshire, with whom we look for consistency of infrastructure for more efficient maintenance and monitoring of all systems, all while enhancing disaster recovery. Dell is a government-approved National Cooperative Purchase Alliance and CPA vendor, and InterDev secured special pricing with Dell. The amount of the quote to procure the equipment is $37,829.64. And CPA competitively bids and awards contracts to national vendors in accordance with mandated purchasing procedures. Utilizing NCPA Agreement Number 01-42 between NCPA and the manufacturer, and the village's Purchasing Policies Manual authorizes the village to purchase the equipment through cooperatives, thereby satisfying the village's requirement to solicit competitive bids for purchases in excess of $20,000. Does anybody have any questions?
I actually did have a question. I was just curious if we knew the lifespan of the new purchases or the anticipated lifespan.
Bettina, you want to handle that?
Sure. So the new warranty will cover the servers for 5 years. So I would anticipate that we could go 5 to 7 on them. Some sort of extension.
And maybe this is where you're going, trustee Fisher. I had a phone conversation earlier today with trustee Rappin about the server and the fact that we're not, living in a cloud environment yet. And the village and several other government ITC, which is a consortium put together for IT, both infrastructure and procuring IT support services. We have periodically analyzed that and, check that out. And should we do that? Does it make more, are there economies of scale to be had? Are there cost efficiencies to be found? And so far, we haven't gotten to that point yet. So this path, and may not surprise you, but we have a pretty simplistic IT infrastructure here. So we're not, placing people on the moon, thankfully. And so it's, the system has been working well with us, and it's a rather efficient way to do it. So.
Thanks.
Any questions from the public?
No, ma'am.
Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Briand.
Aye.
And Trustee Fisher.
Okay. Number 14 on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the first change order to the Construction Engineering Services Agreement for the McClory Bike Path Bridge Replacement Project. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Okay. On April 12, 2021, the Village Board approved a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction engineering services agreement with T.Y. Lin International to perform construction engineering services for the village's McClory Bike Path Bridge Replacement Project in the amount of $20,000. Since that time, the project has demanded significantly more services from T.Y. Lin than was originally anticipated. The areas that required additional work from T.Y. Lin include: 1, multiple reviews of shop drawings and technical submittals, and 2, providing the contractor with guidance and answering questions on the framing and pouring of abutments, back walls, and parapet walls. The cost of the additional work is $19,000. In accordance with the village purchasing policy, a change order of this amount requires the approval of the village board. The village's fiscal year 2022 budget contains $375,000 for this project. If the change order is approved, the estimated total project cost will be $360,000 within budget. The village engineer recommends that the village board approve the change order to the construction engineering services agreement with T.Y. Lin International for the increase in services required during the McClory Bike Path Bridge Replacement Project. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. I'm just curious, are we on schedule with completing this project? Is it possible that we're going to be seeing further increase in this budget? I ask because though we do have room in the budgeted amount, it's not that much, and there's just a small window of wiggle room, and I'm curious if this will close us out.
Great question. Trustee Rappin asked the same question earlier today. Jeff, would you update the board on this project and answer that question in terms of expectation of additional billings or further, financial liability for this project?
Yeah, the contractor, T.Y. Lin, or Copenhagen Construction, we've cut a few more trees down that were in the contract, so that 360 that I put in the memo is plus about 5,000 from the approved contract with them, which was, I believe, 308,000. So this change order, we're pretty firm on that 360. They are 95% done. There is a delay. I don't know if anybody noticed what was going on today, but they're putting up a temporary railing over the bridge. The fabricator who's fabricating the permanent railing is about a month behind. So they weren't going to be able to get that until August 24th that week. So we had them put this up so that we could open it, especially before school starts, so kids can get to school. It will have to be closed again for 2 days when they get the sorry, I can't make that phone stop ringing. When they get the permanent railing in. So we're gonna have a couple of caution signs up here. And for the interim period, and then we should be coming in, like I said, right at that 360. T.Y. Lin won't need any more. It just, the contractor needed a little more hand-holding than we thought at the start.
So just for clarification, what I hear you saying is the path will be open with, so Glenn is sharing the screen and we're looking at a picture. Is that what it will look like? And is that, How tall is that, since we're anticipating kids on their way to school?
That is, I think it's approximately 6 feet tall, might be even a little taller than that. That is the height of the permanent railing will be.
And with the permanent railing, is there going to be a roof, a top to it?
No, it is just vertical on the sides, like you see here, but nicer looking.
Yeah.
Jeff, if you don't mind me asking as well, so to Trustee Fisher's question, it sounds like even though there's still work to go, and it may take a month to get there, you feel like there is very limited or no risk that there will be another change order and that we will come in under budget or at budget.
Under what the 375. We had the contractor, we agreed to the quantities before we started. Like I said, we added a couple of tree removals. We're splitting the cost of this temp fencing. So like I said, I think we're about 5,000 over on a $308,000 contract. And that was in that 360 that I put in the memo. So I feel very comfortable that we will come in under 375, the budgeted amount.
Thanks, Jeff.
But Jeff, just to confirm, this picture was taken, what, 5 hours ago?
2 hours ago, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
And a half.
It's open, right?
No, the barricades are still up. You see that at the end of the bridge. They have a couple little
Oh, yeah.
pieces of fencing to put up. They have, some materials. We'd like them to clean it up a little bit before we open it. Glenn and I have been working on what Glenn has been working on, getting a sign just warning people, this is temporary fencing. We don't want phone calls, people thinking this was our final product. And caution, there are a couple of, bolts that are sticking out a little ways that people do need to be careful. You don't want to run into. But it will be opened later this week.
I'm sorry, Jeff, just one more question. So are we going to open it, I think it was August 7th? Is that something like that was on the signs? Or are we going to wait? Or are we opening it earlier than what was advertised to the public?
Well, that was their sign. That was always a stretch on the calendar. That was
Yeah.
never our calendar. But I thought, well, it better leave that up and open up early versus the other way around.
Yes,
But no,
yes.
it will be opened later this week with this temporary railing on it. But it will need to be closed for a couple of days in late August as they put the permanent railing on.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
No? Okay. Any questions from the public, Drew?
No.
No? Okay, hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Briano,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
and Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Item 15 involves zoning relief for residential property. More specifically, it's an ordinance granting a side yard setback variation for an accessory structure located at 502 McLaren Lane. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
On June 24th, 2021, the Village of Lake Bluff received a zoning variation application from Samuel Alper and Valerie Steiner, jointly the applicant, for zoning relief necessary to enlarge an existing detached garage at the single-family residence located at 502 McLaren Lane. The project would expand the two-car garage into a three-car garage. 502 McLaren Lane fronts on two unbuilt rights-of-way in the terrace subdivision known as the West Terrace. This 1925 subdivision contemplated additional residential streets and lots west of McLaren Lane that were ultimately not constructed and are now the site of the Skokie River Prairie Land and Water Preserve. Even though there are no streets on these rights-of-way, the zoning regulations still treat these as streets and the lot as a corner lot. Accordingly, to expand the existing garage would, 1, encroach on the corner lot side yard setback, and 2, create too many linear feet of garage door facing the front of the lot. At its July 21st meeting, the PCCBA conducted a public hearing and unanimously recommended that the village board grant the requested relief with no special conditions. Are there any questions or concerns from the board? No. Any questions or concerns from the public?
No, ma'am.
No, okay, hearing none. This is a first reading approval, so a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. 16 is an ordinance granting a special use permit to Wine Brokers of Illinois LLC to operate a liquor store at 42 Sherwood Terrace, Suite Number 2. This is the first of 2 board items related to a pending zoning relief application filed by Wine Brokers of Illinois LLC. This first item is the granting of a special use permit to Wine Brokers to operate a liquor store at 42 Sherwood Terrace, Suite Number 2. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. On June 24th, 2021, the Village of Lake Bluff received a petition from the applicant to allow the operation of a liquor store at 42 Sherwood Terrace, Suite Number 2. The applicant currently operates their business in 910 Sherwood Drive, Suite Number 20, pursuant to a special use permit granted by ordinance number 2015-18. The applicant seeks to relocate their business to the new tenant space, to expand their hours of operation, and to allow walk-in clientele. The latter requests deviate from the applicant's existing special use permit. A copy of the existing special use permit and the minutes of the PCZBA and Village Board's consideration from that time are attached to the PCZBA memorandum. At its July 21st meeting, the PCZBA conducted a public hearing and unanimously recommended that the Village Board grant the requested special use permit subject to an expanded limitation, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days per week, on the store's hours of operation. This condition would be more restrictive than the limits on liquor sales prescribed in Section 3-2-12, closing hours of the village's liquor regulations. Similar to other recent zoning relief, this condition is structured to allow the Village Board to modify these hours without a public hearing, but only after prior notice to nearby property owners. As part of their application materials to the PCZBA, Wine Brokers submitted an executed lease with a term and occupancy starting July 1, 2021. Let's take a first reading now. Are there any questions or concerns from the board?
Just a comment that I think it's a great idea for us to be able to support our local businesses, and it seems like this is a good complementary use for a business in that location. It doesn't use any more resources, fire or police. It's going to be fairly low key, and you know, we're looking to have greater taxes, or to raise greater income and take the burden off of our residents. So the more we can activate that area and have thriving businesses, the better.
And just so the Board of Trustees know, the applicant is actually on the call if you have questions of him.
Is this a larger space, but square footage wise than the current space that they're in, the applicant? Is that the part of the reason to be able to?
It is about the same size.
Okay.
You want to introduce yourself, Mark, just for?
Hi, my name is Mark Miar. I'm the owner of Wine Brokers of Illinois.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Mark, will you have a tasting room, or how is it going to be set up for people to sample or drink alcohol at your establishment?
We will be ordering Kubernetes systems similar to the ones they have at Heinen's. So people would put like a prepaid card and they could sample 1 ounce, 2 ounce, or 4 ounce pours.
Great.
That's great. Okay. Any questions from the public or any other questions from anybody? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Hearing none, this is a first reading approval, so a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Wine Brokers has requested a waiver of the second reading in order to allow them to start operations in their new tenant space. Unfortunately, however, the request to waive second reading cannot be taken up because there aren't enough board members present this evening. So the second reading will occur at the first meeting in August, just 2 weeks from now. Okay? And number 17. This is the second of the 2 board items related to a pending zoning relief application filed by Wine Brokers of Illinois LLC. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, thank you. The attached ordinance, recommended by the Liquor Commissioner, proposes to add an additional Class Z license to allow wine brokers to engage in on-premises liquor sales. Wine brokers currently holds a Class A license, which states Section 3-2-8. Class A, which shall authorize the retail sale of alcohol liquor in the original package and not for consumption on the premises where sold, and limited alcoholic liquor tasting activities as provided in Section 3-2-20 of this chapter. The attached ordinance would create one additional Class Z license, which allows Section 3-2-8, Class Z, available only to a business that is the holder of a valid Class A alcoholic liquor license pursuant to this section, which shall authorize the retail sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on the premises where sold, including within outdoor service area or areas approved by the village. Wine Brokers has requested waiver of the second reading in order to allow them to start operations in their new tenant space. As part of their application materials to the PCZBA, Wine Brokers submitted an executed lease with a term and occupancy starting July 1, 2021. Are there any questions or concerns from the board? From the public, Drew? Any questions? No? Okay. Hearing none, this is a first reading approval, so a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The second reading, as with the other, will occur at the first meeting in August, which is just 2 weeks from now. Number 18, trustees report. Any reports from any trustees?
No.
Okay. And then number 19 is the consideration of the July 12, 2021 executive session meeting minutes. If there are no questions or changes to the closed session meeting minutes of July 12, then we do not need to go into an executive session. Does anybody have any changes or questions?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
trustee Rappin,
Aye.
trustee Ryder,
Aye.
and trustee Briand.
Aye. Okay, and number 20 is executive session, but there will be no executive session this evening. So number 21 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Wow.
Keep